This is macOS Ken.
Apple adds more free satellite time, tweaks and issues in the latest OS betas, and Congress has a problem with Apple's problem with the problem. It is Thursday, the 16th of November, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSCan. Congratulations, iPhone 14 owners. You've got an extra year to get lost in the mountains, the jungle, or at the bottom of a ravine at no additional cost. Apple issued a press release Wednesday saying it was extending emergency SOS via satellite for an additional free year for existing iPhone 14 users. Announced with the iPhone 14 line in September of 2022 and launched 1 year ago yesterday, emergency SOS via satellite lets users text with emergency services while outside of cellular and Wi-Fi coverage. Extolling the virtues, Apple VP of Worldwide iPhone Product Marketing, Kyan Drance, was quoted as saying, "Emergency SOS via satellite has helped save lives around the world, from a man who was rescued after his car plummeted over a 400-foot cliff in Los Angeles to lost hikers found in the Apennine Mountains in Italy. We continue to hear stories of our customers being able to connect with emergency responders when they otherwise wouldn't have been able to." Now, she says iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 users can take advantage of this groundbreaking service for 2 more years for free. So feel free to get lost, as my uncle used to tell me to do. I would still avoid playing in traffic, though. Something else my uncle used to tell me to do. The OS beta parade rolls on. Mac Rumors ran a couple of related reports on Wednesday. Those let readers know that Apple had made the third betas of iOS and iPadOS 17.2 available to public testers, along with the third beta of macOS Sonoma 14.2. There is a surprise across all of the betas, according to a piece from my download blog, one meant to keep users from being unpleasantly surprised. The site says the latest betas will let iPhone, iPad, and Mac detect nudity in reaction stickers and contact posters. Maybe you're thinking, well, I could do that. And yeah, you could. The point, though, is to keep you from having to. An expansion of Apple's sensitive contact warning system, iDownload blog has Apple indicating that the feature uses on-device machine learning and computer vision to spot what might be classified as nudity. Since all processing is performed on-device, Apple does not get any access to flagged media, nor does it receive any indication that nudity was detected in the first place. Not on by default, the piece says users who want it have to activate the feature by going to Settings, then Privacy and Security, then Sensitive Content Warning. Of course, currently you also have to be running some or all of the latest OS betas from Apple. It looks like switching between faces on Apple Watch is going back to the way it was. In watchOS 9 and earlier, moving from one watch face to another was as easy as swiping across the screen. It's possible Apple thought that was too easy to do accidentally. For reasons unknown, watchOS 10 changed the way faces were changed. Right now, you have to press on the watch face, wait for it to recede, then swipe to the face you want. Now a piece from 9 to 5 Mac says the old way is coming back, apparently as an option, seemingly bridging the gap between people who want to switch faces easily and people who found it too easy to do by accident. The piece says the swipe to change option is not on by default. In the beta at least, 9 to 5 Mac says it requires you to enable it manually in the clock settings on the watch itself. As it stands now, the option is not turning up in the Watch app on iPhone. Hey, here's a question. Will the next version of iOS fix that pesky in-car wireless charging issue? I know you're thinking they did that last week. Thing is, God never slams a door without breaking a window or something. While iOS 17.1.1 did fix an issue with wireless charging in BMWs, a piece from 9 to 5 Mac says wireless charging for iPhone 15 appears to be broken in many cars from GM. According to the report, GM drivers say they are no longer able to use their in-car wireless charging pads to charge their iPhone 15 after updating to iOS 17.1. There are a number of complaints from GM drivers on Reddit, GM forums, and Apple support forums. These issues, however, don't appear to impact NFC features. Maybe they should count their blessings then. The BMW thing was working NFC, meaning people couldn't use iPhones as keys and couldn't use Apple Pay through iPhone. Of course, you want a thing that's supposed to work to actually work. Affected drivers say last week's 17.1.1 update did not fix the issue. The piece says it is unclear which GM models are having the problem. The number of people affected is also unknown. You know that spatial video people with iPhone 15 Pro models and iOS 17.2 can shoot for Apple Vision Pro? A piece from Upload VR says it is viewable on other VR headsets. In theory, anyway. First, a bit about how spatial video works. According to the report, shooting it captures two 1080p 30 frames per second views from the phone's wide and ultra-wide cameras. These 3D videos are saved in the Apple HEVC stereo video profile format, an implementation of MV-HEVC that the upcoming Apple Vision Pro headset will be able to play natively in a floating rectangular container. Using publicly shared specifications from Apple, the piece says somebody has built an app called Spatialify. It takes Apple's merged file and splits it into a full side-by-side format, playable on headsets such as Quest, Pico, Vive XR Elite, or any PC VR headset. That said, it sounds like it might be missing something or losing something in translation. Upload VR used a Quest 3 to sample test clips shot on iPhone 15 Pro. According to the site, while the sense of depth isn't as pronounced as with dedicated 3D cameras that have a much wider stereo separation, it's still clearly there, and it's coming from a camera tens of millions of people have with them almost all the time. Don't bother looking for the app now, though. Upload VR says Spatialify is currently in test flight. No word on when the developer will submit the app to the App Store. Then there is the question of whether Apple will approve it. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. I'll tell you, the closer the holidays get, the more food-focused I become. Mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, some sort of pie perhaps. It's easy to get carried away this time of year, but Green Chef can be a great counterbalance. They take the work out of eating clean this holiday season with chef-crafted, nutritionist-approved recipes featuring fresh ingredients and nothing artificial. They deliver everything you need to eat clean with really delicious meals. Incredibly delicious. They had me putting together flavors I'd have never tried. Super easy with the pre-selected ingredients and illustrated instructions. And busy as the holidays can be, Green Chef can save you time as well, with dinners that are ready in 30 minutes or less, 10-minute lunches, grab-and-go lunches, healthy snacks, and other quick eats. Green Chef is now owned by HelloFresh, so you know they know quality and convenience. So get to know Green Chef. For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. Feel your best this holiday season with Green Chef. Go to greenchef.com/MOK250. Again, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. Did you know that there is a select committee on the strategic competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party and the U.S. House of Representatives? Well, there is, and it wants to know what Apple's problem was with the problem with Jon Stewart. Last month, the New York Times broke the news that the Current Affairs show was done at Apple. No official reason was given, though people in the know put it down to creative differences. Quoting that report, Mr. Stewart told members of his staff that potential show topics related to China and artificial intelligence were causing concern among Apple executives, a person with knowledge of the meeting said. China? Hey, isn't there a select committee on the strategic competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party in the U.S. House of Representatives? Yeah, like you knew that. Citing a Reuters report, a piece from Tapbacks says the leaders of the committee have written to Apple CEO Tim Cook, asking the CEO, what the what? Quoting the letter, while companies have the right to determine what content is appropriate for their streaming service, the coercive tactics of a foreign power should not be directly or indirectly influencing these determinations. Committee members went on to say, we also respectfully request that Apple publicly commit that content that could be perceived as critical of the Chinese Communist Party or the People's Republic of China is welcome on Apple TV Plus and other Apple services. The piece says the committee leaders are hoping for a briefing from Apple before the middle of next month. The cult says they would also like a meeting with Stewart or one of his representatives. New stuff Apple is selling and old stuff Apple is not. We'll start with the new. A piece from Mac Rumors says the Cupertino company has added a range of third-party accessories to its online store. Among them are charging systems, a HomeKit-enabled lock, a string of HomeKit-compatible lights, a flash drive, a mobile game controller, and a few other odds and ends, all of them hitting just in time for the holidays. As for the old stuff Apple is not selling, it's stuff you probably thought they stopped selling a decade ago. Another piece from Mac Rumors says the company has stopped selling optical disc installers for 2011's macOS 10 Lion 10.7 and 2012's Mountain Lion 10.8. It's crazy to think they were still available at all. Lest you worry, it is only the physical media that's gone. The piece says Apple continues to offer OS X Lion and OS X Mountain Lion as free digital downloads for those who still need them. And finally today, Apple TV Plus has given the world a first look at the new look. Set against the World War II Nazi occupation of Paris, the streamer's press release on the show says the new look focuses on the pivotal moment in the 20th century when the French city led the world back to life through its fashion icon, Christian Dior. As Dior rises to prominence with his groundbreaking, iconic imprint of beauty and influence, Chanel's reign as the world's most famous fashion designer is put into jeopardy. It's really hard to know how seriously to take a story of fashion set against the horrors of a world war. Then again, it actually happened in some capacity. Inspired by true events, says the release. Also, talk about a cast. Ben Mendelsohn, Juliette Binoche, Maisie Williams, John Malkovich, Emily Mortimer, and Klaus Bong headline. The first 3 episodes of the 10-episode historical drama hit Apple TV Plus on Valentine's Day, Wednesday, the 14th of February. They run 1 per week on successive Wednesdays, with the series wrapping up on the 3rd of April. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. For Green Chef's best deal of the year, get $250 off with code MOK250 at greenchef.com/MOK250. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macosken. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.